All right. Good evening, everyone. I think that we have a couple folks on the on the phone. I couldn't think of the word. I'm sorry. But today is February 9th, Monday, February 9th, 6:30. And we are getting ready to kick off the Cunningham Township Board meeting. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Wu.
Here.
Trustee Evans.
Here.
Trustee Hersey.
Here.
Trustee Bishop.
Here.
Trustee Wilkin.
Here.
Trustee Quisenberry.
Here.
Mayor Williams.
Here.
Supervisor Chenoweth.
Present.
Assessor Awana.
Here.
Thank you.
Awesome. Quorum is present. Thank you all. We will now move on to the approval of the minutes. So the minutes for November 17th, 2025 meeting minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
All right, moved by Mary Alice, seconded by Grace. No discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Aye.
Yeah. All right, the ayes have it. I should have given them more time. I'm sorry, y'all. All right. Are there any proposed additions or changes to the agenda? Awesome. Seeing none, we will now move to public participation. The floor is now open for members of the public. If you have would like to speak, you have 5 minutes to come to the mic. State your name, city. And seeing no one, we will now move on. Public participation is closed. All right, we'll move to committee to verify bills. I recognize Supervisor Chenoweth to verify the bills. The floor is yours.
Thank you and good
Thank
evening.
you.
Looking forward to it getting just a little bit warmer this week. So before you have the bills. Let me just pull up. So just a reminder, we're reporting on December bills in February. So we'll always beat that. So the town fund is $44,405.01. General assistance fund is $361,313.35. The total expenditures for December is $405,718.36. You have the full bills in your packet itemized, and I'm happy to answer any questions before I go on to the supervisor's memo. Yes, supervisor memo? Okay, so,
We need a motion and an approval. I move to approve payment of the bills.
Second.
Seconded by Mary Alice. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
sure, so if you open up the supervisor's memo, which starts on page, just to help you out, page 21 of your packet. The first thing that we wanted to point out, I kind of do a highlight each month, is I want to talk about alternative response. We are currently funded through Urbana's HHI grant for our CARES team. So a portion of our CARES team is funded through that, and a portion through ESG, which is HUD dollars through the state of Illinois, funds our street outreach. We are coming to a close on countywide street outreach funding because our ESG funds are almost expended. And I do want to mention that Champaign's Rights and Equity and Engagement team has hired Dr. Parnell, who I'll be meeting with, and our team will be meeting with. And she has assembled a group of folks who are doing alternative response in Champaign. So because there is basically a full and much larger, larger than our team, and we really have only had a FTE and a half to work the county. I think the benefit of that is we were able to basically identify or quantify the need throughout the county. We will still work cooperatively with them. We will still respond to until our ESG funding is done, we'll still respond throughout the county, but we're really looking forward to refocus our attention on Urbana exclusively, as those positions will be funded through Urbana dollars. So I think we're just seeing a greater need at Lincoln Square, on Filet Road, in the Boneyard. We certainly, Crystal Lake Park, we go to all of those places pretty much every single day, but our time is limited in terms of engagement because we're spread so thin. So I just wanted to let folks know that we're kind of pivoting, and I'm not sure this next year, especially with Champaign having a kind of an engagement team, I think we would prefer to focus on Urbana in our future grants. So we have been doing that work through the HHI grant. I linked to Alternative Response Resources and Model Programs Tracker. We've been keeping that up to date for about 2.5 years now. We've had multiple kind of study sessions. We did a presentation through the social work school at the IMC and with our social work team about alternative response. We're part of the Alternative Response Task Force. I also want to mention that we've been working closely with Dignity Best Practices. They had invited us to apply for a field mediation community of practice. Actually, they had invited Dispute Resolution Institute, and they had reached out to us as a partner. Dispute Resolution Institute is dissolving many of their programs right now, and so we were happy to support them in a submission, but not in a position to submit ourselves. They did not end up submitting, but Dignity Best Practices reached out to us and asked us to engage in the field mediation community of practice, and so we currently participate in that. We recently learned from Jaron Dorsey of Evanston's care team. I don't know, Mayor, if you'd spoken with him. He's really excellent, really brilliant. I think he could be a really excellent trainer in Urbana, but he gave an hour-long presentation, and we had a question answer specifically around working with neurodivergent individuals in the field. That was the kind of topic of this quarter. I have linked some key resources, a nationwide map of community responder programs that LEAP continues to put together. I know the city is engaged with LEAP. Madison Cares Response Dashboard. I really encourage you to look at both of these dashboards, and we're interested with our CARES team and our new IT professional. Were you to approve it tonight, for us to start working towards a dashboard that is on our website that's constantly updating. And yes, and then I just kind of wanted to share that has been a big focus of ours in terms of we started our budget process. We're about to do our performance evaluations with employees, and I usually do kind of restructuring in the spring as we apply for grants. So I am right now looking for grants to continue our CARES team past December. It's currently funded through December by the HHI grant. So we're looking at ICEJA grants. We're talking with Dignity Best Practices, and they actually give us a list of all of the training spaces and conferences in this area. It's about 25 that touch alternative response, and I would say about 5 are pretty closely relevant to our community. So I'd love to, we're kind of trying to figure out where do we want to invest in some professional development. The second section is actually a visual of what I presented last time. Same data, because we're still we're producing the outcomes data, so we're gonna update intake data we're now at about 140 people served. We were at 104 when I did this before. And then I'll prepare the outcome data that shows kind of employment and housing outcomes, especially with us launching case management. I will say we've had 2 healthcare events at the Armory. One is with Champaign Healthcare Partnership, which is a, what do they call it? Federal qualified clinic. I can't remember all these acronyms. And then the second was with Promise Healthcare, similarly a federal qualified clinic. Both receive special funds to support folks who may be uninsured or underinsured. So we had about 15 guys both times meet with folks to talk through healthcare needs, and they're very excited about that. We've had multiple case management instances. So we've had 3 so far where we've had 3 mornings of case management, starting to get folks into coordinated entry. There are a number of permanent supportive housing vouchers available through RPC. And so we're trying to fast track connecting the 11 people who are on SSI, SSDI to those permanent supportive housing vouchers. So that will be important. And as you can see in this infographic, 61% of the men listed disabling condition. I'm not going to go over the stats I went over last time, but I think these visuals are really helpful, and you should feel free if you want to share them with folks. We'll also be sharing them through our social media. And I've linked to download them, so you can actually link and share and look at them. Just a couple of things I'll point out, because this is a 16-page memo. I'm looking to figure out how I can kind of reduce and condense going forward. I've just continued to add as we grow programs. So Careers in Motion, that would be basically under Careers in Motion. I want to mention our trainings are complete. We've identified our host sites, and we're essentially looking to do placements. Our host sites, we started the host sites this week, and the Housing Authority has announced that they're opening a $1.5 million funding initiative for homeless services in 2026. So we will be applying for that. We're also applying for $143,000 in ICJIA funds, which is the maximum for any organization in our region to support this Careers in Motion program extension. Those 2 things go together because the workforce development housing has been very successful, and we want to make sure that anyone who's in our Careers in Motion program is not literally unhoused outside. Makes it very difficult for them to participate in workforce development. We have 8 folks who are housed in that program right now, and we have a total number of 12 folks, I believe, 14 folks in the program. Next, I just want to point out the CARES team, the calls for service, which were a high of a little over 2,000 in October. We're coming down closer to something a little bit more reasonable. It's 1528 in January. Did want to show that applications for rental assistance are up. 56 were processed in December. We had 65 last month. That is really high for the spring. We usually don't see. We see a little bit of a dip in the spring, and so I'm not really sure. That scares me. We usually kind of, it's real difficult in the summer months, tend to be our high months, but that's pretty high. We will expend all of our CDBG, Housing Authority, and our levy, so we're on track to spend it all on rental assistance. Utility assistance, LIHEAP did open up. We did serve 23 households, and that's basically folks who weren't able to access LIHEAP. And you'll see it's a small number, and so my guess is that those were smaller bills, maybe more water bills than heat. Next, I'll just go to street outreach. You will see the number of people we are encountering on the street is low, much lower than it has been. So in November, we had 86 individuals we were working with. In January, it was only 37. That's because the majority of those we found on the street are in the Armory shelter. 37 folks is still too high, and we are looking at the point-in-time count numbers. I think they said that they identified a number that I think is larger than I would expect, but that there's duplication, so I'll get that number for you. I've asked them to dedupe before we really start talking about it. We were able to move folks who were unsheltered outside directly into housing, into shelter that night, partnering with my partner across Wright Street, Charlene Murray, who is our new township supervisor. Congratulations. So we worked very closely on the point-in-town count night. We had women go into Strides. We had several women come out and go into the hotel who were able to be stable in a hotel. And then we had 3 men that we brought into the Armory that evening. So really helped to have shelter that we could immediately bring people into rather than just counting them and leaving them outside on a cold night. Don't want to do that. Next, we'll go on to, I'm just going to the yellow bits. Our Bridge Dome housing team, we had 10 households representing 20 individuals in our hotel shelter in December. We had 8 households representing 9 individuals in the hotel with other funding sources. We do have some openings in rapid rehousing. I just met with that team today. They screened 6. We get all of our referrals from coordinated entry, which is the requirement of our grant. We got 6 referrals. We were able to take 3 in, and so I believe we have 1 opening left, but I was determining that with the team. So hopefully we will fill up that program completely because we had several exits at the end of their 12-month stay. Transitional housing for Urbana families, you'll see we have an average stay in the shelter of about 3.75 months, which is pretty good. We're happy with that number. It's not listed here, but our success rate is running around 92%. We're required to have an 80% success rate, so feeling really good about that. Last month, we served over 13 families with children. So 7 were in our apartments and 6 were in the family shelter that's expanded in market rate housing that's Housing Authority funded. So part of the question going into next year that we're looking at is, do we double our family shelter? Because it seems like our wait list was really long for a while, and we really have not been able to get that wait list down until we doubled the size of our shelter. So I anticipate we'll be asking for workforce development and family shelter funds from the Housing Authority Move to Work program, because I think we would like to maintain that kind of capacity. Just for the record, a pretty big jump for us, just in terms of how many people we are sheltering. We tripled the size of our sheltering in November, December, January. On our prioritized wait list, this is fiscal year 26 when the wait list was really stalled out, and our average is 3 months of waiting on the wait list. That is not anything I'm proud of. I think the Housing Authority money definitely helped that, but the folks on our priority list are literally homeless families or families going in and out of literal homelessness. So that means waiting 3 months in a car, in an abandoned building like that. I don't want to see that. So I think we really, in the past, our wait time has been 30 days, sometimes 2 weeks. And so I really want to get us down to the point where we're not seeing a long wait list for family shelter. Again, that's the average for fiscal year 26. I want to note that angel donor funds were raining on us in January. People have been very generous, and we received $22,257. And then we received a number of big contributions in December as well. Almost all of that has gone to our public winter emergency shelter. I will say our help desk is up, so you can see that it's the highest number of folks who have been served by our help desk, and that's because as you can see in December, we expanded our hours. We served 17 folks, and in January we served 20. This is usually navigating with somebody for, 1.5 hours, so it's quite an intensive process. We just hired 4 digital navigators, we're in the process of having 4 new digital navigators trained by the U of I who would help desk after graduation. Sharing table, hunger relief because of the SNAP work requirement and just other kind of the cost of bills, we did see a 30% increase in the number of households served. And you can see we helped a total of 189 individuals, 20 adults and 69 children with the sharing table. Solidarity Gardens, we have started applications for the free garden program. Anyone who is SNAP, Medicaid, or an immigrant gardener is encouraged to apply. And then I mentioned the events. I'll just jump to staff development. It's our last page. We had a number of trainings last month. And coming up, we are going to be learning about street medicine from Dr. Alan Crandall, who is with the Denver Coalition for the Homeless. He was also the head of psych at Christie Clinic, and he's retired. I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. And then we are doing a series of trainings on low barrier and emergency shelter. So, and everyone in the office has to annually complete sexual harassment and implicit bias training by the end of March. So you can see all of our staff certifications on our website. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the supervisor's memo.
Thank you, Supervisor. Grace, go for it. Any questions?
Thank you. I think mostly two kind of related ones. With the families who are unsheltered on the wait list, are those the same families in the hotel program? Like 7 on the wait list and 6 in the hotels, does that overlap? Or that's 7 families who were on the street, or are they in the hotel program?
So let me just make sure I'm looking at it correctly. Let me go to that section. Families experiencing homelessness. Housing and security. 4 referrals received in January. I'm trying to find, let's see. What page are you on in the supervisor's memo? It should be lower right-hand number.
I'm trying to find it again now, sorry.
No, it's fine. Is this maybe under housing navigation?
Yeah, housing navigation, page 10.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe I was looking at something else, but 7 families with children, and then transitional housing, page, no, just kidding. A prioritized wait list, page 12, where we have 7 families unsheltered.
Yep.
But I didn't see the hotel program included there, and was hoping that some of those people on the wait list are in hotels.
Yeah, so we have, this was December, we case managed 12 literally homeless families on the prioritized wait list. December is also I would have to look at a by list name, because I know that we currently don't have 7 on our wait list. The last I checked in with our team, we had about 3 families on our wait list who were literally homeless. But at the time, we were case managing 12 literally homeless families, and we were working on moving them into housing. We had a number of openings in our SAS program. We also had several openings. I think we ended up with 6 families with the Housing Authority money housed. We currently actually have an opening in SAS, which is our units, our shelter and services group, and we'll be intaking families. So I would have to do more of like a point in time, like how many families. But my understanding is right now, or within the last 7 days, we were looking at 3 HUD definition homeless families. How many were in a domestic violence shelter versus on the street is unknown. I'm not aware of any family we're working with who is street homeless. And during this time, our goal has been to not have, during the winter months, if anyone was street or car or abandoned building homeless during the winter, we moved them into shelter. So a lot of the folks who are on our wait list, it's like they're running out of time at Courage Connection, or they're self-pay in a hotel, and then basically when they're close to running out of money, they're considered within 14 days of not having housing, and then they get bumped up on our priority.
Thank you, and definitely appreciate what you're doing to meet that very important goal.
Yep.
My other question was related to that. I think last meeting, we were talking about following up with RPC family shelters supposed to be opening, and I didn't know if you had an update on that.
So they opened in November as a congregate shelter in very close to their Neal Street intake location near downtown Champaign. I think they struggled for months to have families engage with that model of shelter. There weren't very many families engaging. They were not necessarily holding staff there if they weren't engaged. So from a budget perspective, and, you know, I think they could speak to that. They're an HHI recipient from Urbana. But there were a number of concerns raised at CSPH, and they expanded their intake hours and they added transportation. And what they reported to us at the CSPH meeting last week is that there is anywhere between 0 and 3 families that use that on a given night. But I didn't understand necessarily the time frame they were speaking of, but there are definitely days when there's no usage. I would say generally speaking, because of the Housing Authority money and our program and some of the work RPC has done and Housing Authority has done to move folks into some of the subsidized housing that's opening up, we have, you know, we had a crisis on our hands with families, and it was definitely ameliorated by those things. So like I said, I'm not aware of any family that qualifies for our program, which is a family with a kid at Crisis Nursery or in Urbana schools. I'm not aware of any family, and we have not allowed folks to be unsheltered during this time. So either that we've referred them to the family shelter for immediate, or we have housed them in a hotel, or we've been able to intake them into our program. I do know that there is a gap with Unit 4 schools children, and that is the gap that we see most often, and that's a gap that we are not in a position to fill without funding from that entity.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Supervisor, I have one quick question.
Sure.
Or, I forgot what my one quick question was. I'm so sorry. Careers in Motion. Did you guys? I'm almost positive. I thought Mrs. Miller, gave a number. Did you guys have a designated like amount, a number of folks that you wanted to have signed up by a certain amount of time?
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, so we have 14 folks in the program. We are capped at 20. So each quarter, we will take in however many participants between 20 and the amount that we have. So with the ICJA money, if we're awarded, that will actually allow us to raise that cap past the 20. But right now, we're at 20 just based on case management load. Excuse me, that's our limit. So we are looking to intake 6 Urbana residents who are out of work and have barriers to work into our program. We're taking applications right now. We will close that application process at the end of February. And I am somewhat concerned at how many applications we have compared to the slots.
Okay.
Like, we're seeing quite a bit of interest in that program. I would say the number one interest is with housing. There's a lot of homeless residents really interested in that program because with Housing Authority money, it can come with housing. That said, this next cohort, you know, I might have 1 or 2 slots for housing, and so we're going to be limited in what we can do.
Okay. Thank you.
I am still looking for a financial literacy specialist because the person we had lined up fell through.
I know
So-
a guy or two, so.
What's that?
I know a guy or two.
Okay,
as well. I
great.
can, if
So
nothing else, recommend.
we basically, we're going to do that as a pre-host site set of trainings. Instead, we did other trainings, and so once they're placed at a host site, we want to do a whole 8-week unit on financial literacy. So we still have time, but suggestions are welcome.
Awesome. Mary Alice.
Yes, thank you. I have 2 questions that are related to the report and 2 that aren't. So my first question is if you could expand a little bit on the Champaign team that you were talking about. I'm not familiar with what's going on over there.
My understanding, and it was reported to me at the reported at CSPH, but also I did have a sit-down with the city of Champaign recently, just around after the anti-camping ordinance. CSPH requested a meeting of executives to have a conversation about kind of how that came about and what we could do to kind of collaborate and communicate better. So very productive and very positive conversation. My understanding, which is very limited, is that there is a social worker and 4 full-time staff members specifically assigned to that. And I know that's, I believe, on top of the equity engagement staff that they have hired. They also hired a contractor called Block by Block, which is more about beautification, but I do believe has some engaging people to move them along aspect is the sense that I get. And that is for Campus Town, Midtown, and Downtown. So
Are they primarily serving homeless individuals?
Block by Block is not primarily serving homeless individuals, but that is a piece of the equation. The equity engagement staff are engaging homeless individuals. And we were just kind of told what was happening, and there wasn't, how does this fit with street outreach and what is it going to look like? Those conversations were not had.
Okay.
Which is why we really see it as, we are, may no longer be needed in Champaign, which honestly is welcome given capacity issues that we're having and the need in Urbana.
And then my second unrelated question is, I remember you were talking about SOAR and some of the changes going on at the federal government. I was wondering if you had an update on that.
Yeah, so interestingly, they found the SOAR TA Center, which is really a technical assistance piece to be able to call folks who are experts who are not SSA because they don't answer the phone. You could be on the phone for 3 hours. So we've had these technical experts through SAMHSA for years, been very helpful. They were defunded and closed, so the state picked it up. And essentially, and perhaps some private foundations. So the SOAR TA Center has continued. And I have staff who trained, they're training this week or next. The SOAR Center is in town and they're doing 2 days of training with them. So we are excited about that because our new, our disability and wellness case manager who came on about a year ago has just been really doing she's trained in the SOAR process. And as you can see in the supervisor's memo, the number of people we've been able to get to access Social Security disability. I'm just gonna look at this because it's quite impressive. Parkland Training is hosting a SOAR training February 10th and 11th in Urbana. We've helped 8 people with SSA navigation in December alone. By comparison, last year when we didn't have as robust of a support system, we helped 9 in all of fiscal year 25. So we've had 13 awarded SSI fiscal year to date, 20 were awarded last year. That's just in the first, so we're on track to exceed number of awardees. And as you probably know, we do receive the general assistance funding back from the lump sum payment based on the date of determination of disability. Oftentimes, we were paying before that date, so the feds set the date, but we do recoup quite a bit of those dollars through that process. So it really behooves us to invest time in helping people, certainly from a financial standpoint, but even more importantly, people who have a disability are no longer expected to live off a $425 check. They can actually have something that's closer to $1,000, which is still under the poverty line, but much more significant. And certainly if they're unhoused, gives them much more opportunity to move into, say, shared housing.
And then I was wondering if you could speak, if you know about the impact of the electricity changes, specifically where they were giving discounts to people who qualified for LIHEAP. Mm-hmm. Have you seen any impact?
We have been referring folks even when LIHEAP wasn't open and was just reducing people's energy bill. My understanding that the reduction is significant. That said, we only really hear from those who are shut off. We don't hear from the folks who are being able to manage their utility bills. So I think that, and bills are going up. So it's like, if everything stayed steady, everything was a control, that would be the one thing we could show that was different. And because of the fluctuations in the economy and prices, I don't think that we have a good sense of that. I do think it's a beneficial program. We do refer people to it regularly, but we are still seeing quite a few utility requests. Like before Ameren stopped shutting off utilities, you can look at our history and you know, the utility costs, the utility assistance last year and this year has been very significant. And again, it's only for people shut off who cannot get LIHEAP. So it's like, you know, we're the last resort so to see that go to skyrocket is really concerning. And then to hear that we might have data centers moving into Danville and Champaign County that will, you know, basically take our clean water and jack our bills and destroy the environment is very concerning. So I was very happy to see that the county was looking at a moratorium on data centers. And if you get a chance to thank county board members, please do, because it's a very important issue.
And I had one other question. No, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
All right. Seeing no further questions, let's get to some new business. All right, a resolution, resolution number T 2026-02-004R, resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a recipient agreement with the city of Urbana for daytime and nighttime staffing for public winter emergency shelter. Supervisor Chenoweth.
So I presented on this at length, so I'm just happy to take any questions. It was changed by the city council, you may know who they are, to allow for day and nighttime. That's really important because we will need that nighttime staff support to get to the end of our occupancy permit, May 23rd. We're still fundraising, we're $22,000 short to get to that date, but I feel confident with angel donor funds and other potential pledges that we will be able to stay open nighttime through the occupancy permit.
Thank you, Supervisor. Any additional questions? Seeing none. Clerk.
I have a question.
Sharice.
When is the occupancy, when is that up? You said in May?
May 23rd.
May 23rd. So my other question is, so this particular emergency shelter is just going to take us through the spring? You're not going to try to expand it into the summer?
I would need funding and an extended occupancy permit to do that at this location.
Okay. So you presently don't have that. My question was, are you going to try to do that?
Well, I'm pretty tired after trying to build a winter shelter on a shoestring budget, to give you the honest opinion. I am, Charlene, our supervisor of City of Champaign Township, and myself will be presenting at the Metropolitan Intergovernmental Collaborative on Wednesday, where we will be discussing and presenting on emergency shelter kind of past, present, and future, and talking about some proposals that we have for moving forward, given the size of the population has grown so much in the last few years, not only here, but nationally. And so what we are planning to do is to come back to both town boards / city councils with that same presentation. So we have opportunity to engage around it. We currently have between our two shelters, somewhere between 120 and 140 individuals experiencing homelessness. And in both cases, we do not have the support to continue those shelters. I mean, that is just, you know, I've gotten a lot of support to get to the occupancy permit, but in terms of long-term, and so that, you know, we're really facing a fiscal cliff. And I think everybody's aware of that. We've certainly said it many times. And so we'll be making some proposals, and we'll also be offering kind of cost analyses. What does it cost to be nighttime only? What does it cost to have case management? What does it cost to separate genders? What does that look like? So we have different scenarios we'd like to put forward, but we are certainly not in a position to solve that problem alone. I should say I am not in a position to solve that. Maybe Charlene is smarter than I am and she can solve it but not me. So I look forward to that conversation. I do want to say on that topic, Ms. Hersey, that one of the things that we are doing is developing a strategic plan with our consultant home-based and homelessness in Champaign County. And a big piece of that is happening right now is an intensive data analysis and comparison with other communities, because the issue is not only we just need to take these 2 shelters and give them more money. I think both of us agree that that's actually not the right solution, but that it is to decide how do we have a truly low barrier point of entry that is connected to a crisis management that is needed for low barrier, because there's a lot of significant mental health issues going on in the streets. And then how do we make that stay in low barrier shelter very brief and move through the continuum into emergency, transitional, and permanent housing. And so we control only a few cars on that train, but we would like to really talk about what are the different points of reform. So certainly more funding is going to be needed for low barrier shelter, to have even one low barrier shelter. But if that one low barrier shelter is Strides, there is way too many people on the street, as we saw before we opened the Armory. I don't know if you've gone by Strides, but there's no one outside anymore, and there's very few people, if no one, in the viaduct. And so the solution is not to legislate people out of the streets or to deny them housing, which is what was happening, but is actually to give them beds to sleep in a warm space, which is what Cunningham Township did. So hopefully we have proven that to the community, because ideology is very powerful, and there were a lot of stories about what was going to happen. Build it and they will come. They'll never be housed. They don't want to go to shelter. All of that is, in my opinion, BS. And we've shown with our shelter that if we provide shelter, the vast majority of people will come in. And those who are still outside are experiencing extreme complex mental health issues. Like, they believe the world is ending and they might as well just sleep outside, or they're looking to live underground. Or, I mean, I will tell you stories because I've interacted with folks. They're not in a position they're not capable of being in a congregate sheltered space. That is for the very few people who are now outside. So I think we have to get really real. Like, there's no more closing our eyes and saying, well, if we just don't provide shelter, they'll go away. Or we'll legislate and fine them $750 for being outside, and maybe they'll go away. I think we have finally, thanks to advocacy by CSPH and the homeless service providers, have made clear that we actually have to have a sober and realistic analysis of what we are facing, and that we have to invest in the significant point of entry, and then we have to move people along. We have to divert them, reunification, and we have to help them move into better housing than a cot in a room with a whole bunch of other people. But without that one thing, people will die. And they did last winter, and they didn't this winter. So that is what we'll be talking about Wednesday. And I look forward to talking with you more about it and having Charlene and I present to you as the 2 township supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. And shout out to Ms. Charlene here in the audience. Thank you for joining us. James,
I'd
sorry.
like to make a motion. I'd like to move resolution number T 2026-02-004R, resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a recipient agreement with the City of Urbana for daytime and nighttime staffing for a public winter emergency shelter.
Second.
Motion made by James, seconded by Grace. Any additional questions? Grace?
Thank you. I definitely appreciate the work with the winter shelter and expanding it to meet the needs. Love that there's still a $222,000 gap for operating fully through May, and find that unfortunate that the rest of council didn't want to increase that, but I do hope that we can stay in touch, and if that there is a need that you're not able to scramble together from other municipalities and people donating out of the kindness of their heart and their own funds, that we can be in touch and see if we can meet that gap with available funds that taxpayers have already paid. And I know that it's not for your lack of trying, because you've told us about this every year that I've been involved of planning ahead for winter stuff so we don't piecemeal us together. And yeah, you've said that every year, and I agree with it and try and commit to it every year. And then summer rolls around when we're doing the budget, and seems like it doesn't always find that place in there. So just want to reiterate that for all of us in the summer when it's warm and we forget what it feels like in these freezing times, to remember to plan ahead so that we can hopefully not have to scramble winters again so that people aren't freezing. So, and thanks for the work you do and keeping this open.
Just a thank you for that, Grace. Just a point of clarification, we're only $22,000, not, I think you said 222. We're only $22,000 away from getting to what we need. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Is that less than what you presented at the last meeting? I thought it was in the 200,000 gap. Papers
That
you gave
was
us
to
last
get to
month.
the end of June. That was able to get to the end of June, and I had several very large donations come in since then. So between those two, I think that last 100,000 was to get to the end of June. Right now, we're not guaranteed the end of June. I just offered it as a scenario. Our occupancy permit ends May 23rd, so I would certainly need that to be extended.
So, well, glad to hear that gap is much smaller. Thank you.
James.
As a further piece of clarification, I think council acted quickly to respond to the question that you had put in front of us right away. And I think everybody on council was open to the possibility of supporting it with more money if you came back and said, this is what I needed because the other activities you were doing failed. So just to be clear, it wasn't that council didn't want to do more, it was council wanted to respond to your immediate request and would consider more if you found that you needed that.
Awesome. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Wu,
Yes.
Trustee Evans,
Yes.
Trustee Hersey,
Yes.
Trustee Bishop,
Yes.
Trustee Wilkin,
Yes.
Trustee Quisenberry.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, and that passes. All right, next, we have resolution number T 2026-02-005R, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a service agreement with, what is that? Mavid, what is that? Mavid?
It's Mavidia.
Mavidia, Jesus, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I
Mavidia for
have the same
IT
problem.
services and consulting. Supervisor, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so you approved a healthy budget for IT upgrades. We are at 25 staff. We have been doing IT internally. We have a very tiny IT contract with a local provider who just, basically helps us, provides the minimum as we are paying. We put out an RFP, including that current IT provider, with a series of requests. There were 8 organizations that were interested. We reviewed their applications. We talked with 3 of the applicants, and we selected Mavidia. Mavidia works significantly, although they are based in Bloomington, they work significantly with nonprofit and government entities, they work with the Housing Authority, they understand housing-related issues. They're generous, thoughtful, thorough, and come with several very strong local recommendations. We are interested in moving forward with them as IT service providers. There is one piece of the RFP that they could not do. They will not customize our case management software, but they will support us in finding a person who could. So they'll basically provide a full suite of services. They're going to help us do a migration from Google to Microsoft. They're going to help us select HR software. They're going to advise us on how to upgrade our accounting processes to better dovetail with our grants management. Those may be separate, specific specialty projects. They will give us all the advice for free, but when it comes to actually doing some of the footwork around those, then we can decide to engage them. But essentially, for the contract that's before you, it is to support 25 seats. We have exactly 25 seats. We have a lot of onboarding and offboarding, and it is a significant contract, but the options are for me to hire a person in-house at a level that is greater than what this contract would be, or to go outside, because right now, we're moving $500,000 in contract money, each month. And I only have 2 administrative staff members. So the administrative staff member who supports IT is needed entirely on the finance side, and is not necessarily an IT consultant, although she she has plenty of IT chops. So that we had chose instead to outsource. The only change in the contract is that I negotiated a 2-year contract instead of a 3-year contract after I put this in the packet. So there will be one change to the contract that I'm asking for. It's in our best interest that they will give us a free setup. It's about a $3,100 value, and then we're only locked in for 2 years instead of 3.
All right, thank you. I will entertain a motion. James?
I've got some questions first.
Go for it.
if That's okay.
Yep, go for
And
it.
I do want to say I appreciate Supervisor Chenoweth talking with me a bit about this beforehand. So, and one of the things I asked for was the summary that she just gave about how the process worked. One thing I did want to check in the process, did we talk to other municipal governments that this provider supports as a reference?
No, I did look over their references with regard to nonprofits. We're probably more like their nonprofit and housing authority clients than government clients. I did speak to 2 different organizations that have used them. They are both in the business sector in this community. There were local folks who I knew who had used them, and they came highly regarded by those individuals. And then we had 2 different long conversations where we grilled them, basically, asked a number of questions. I used to run an IT company. I know what questions to ask. And so I felt like I vetted them thoroughly in that way.
Right, and then I thank you for sharing a lot on the process, because it was an open process. That's important, because this is, even at 2 years, this is $80,000 of commitment. So more about the details about their particular contract. And I'll warn everybody, there's ice cream running on this, whether I ask the right questions or not. So I did read about their 24-hour service. One thing I didn't see is what kind of service level agreement they offer, as far as, you can call them 24 hours a day, how quickly they respond. Do they have a service level commitment regarding that? I didn't find it in the.
My understanding, so what they explained is that they have 24/7 on-call service, not that you leave a voicemail and they get back to you, but they will actually answer the phone. They will have remote access to and much of our work will be in the cloud. So although they're in Bloomington, we don't have a lot of 24/7 needs. We haven't had a lot of after-hours needs. But they can both come in person, but most likely they will be able to do what they need remotely. And our current IT person, I don't remember the last time he physically stepped into the office. I believe it's been 4 years. So he's been able to do everything remotely, because if somebody does need to go and turn off the server and turn it back on, I live 2 blocks from Township. So what we've been doing is I can take care of something like that.
All right, because I did have a question about the after-hours service. Looks like it's billed at $250 an hour, but you've said that's a very low likelihood that we would need to take
Correct.
advantage of that
Yep.
and pay them $500 to drive back and forth
Yeah.
between here and Bloomington.
They also
But-
clarified for me, I'm sorry, that an emergency is really something that does, if it's something that has to be done and cannot wait till the next day, they will not be billing us those hours. So if it's an after-hours situation where we are asking for services that could wait and we are demanding them, then they would be charging us $250. I understand the language is a little bit different. I understand that we might be held to a different standard, but that's what they clarified. And that is kind of what I checked with other folks who have used them, that has been their practice.
Okay, and then there was a lot of detail about working with our insurance, our cyber security insurance. Are we comfortable with the fact that the line of who does what in that relationship is going to be managed well with this company? Because they say they're going to do some part of, like if we had a ransomware event, they're going to do like some of the initial parts of it, but they would hand off.
Yes.
The
So
real-
I asked that question with them, so I scream.
Their vendor accounts, okay.
And so I asked them this question, and they said they will cover everything outside of our policy. And they've indicated, and our policy through TORMA, it fits the criteria required in this contract already.
And so they also are going to be doing backups for us.
Correct.
And so I didn't find anything in there about if we decide at some point we're separating from them, you know, how much backup data are they going to be retaining, and how do we get it if we at some point decide we're not going to work with them?
So
in the
there's,
future?
so I asked about backups. The first is they'll have a physical server on site. We do not have to purchase that server. It was one of my requests is what equipment we would need to purchase. There's no equipment needs at this point. They will also be backing everything up in the cloud. And so if we were to separate from them, then they would essentially provide us access to that. You know, they would do a smooth transition with a new IT provider that would allow them to have it, you know, to migrate the cloud. And that is what's going to happen with our current IT provider as well.
Okay, I promise, only two more questions. They do the Security Operations Center response, their SOC, they have that defined. Is that their own operation, or is that something that they have a third party that they
That's
contract
third
with?
party, and we have not selected that option. We do
we're not
not,
gonna
we
use
do not need 24/7 real human beings watching activity. I don't think that we're in a position like that at this point, maybe in 2 years
Okay,
with a different, you know, in the world of AI, but no.
that question doesn't matter then if we're not using that service. And then last, their limit of liability is up to 1 year of what we pay. So essentially, if they do something that causes a loss or an issue, they're limited to only $40,000 of mitigation or response. Is that something that you're comfortable with?
Yes, I'm comfortable with that. My understanding is, we have a robust insurance policy that I believe would handle most situations. I don't anticipate, so I think it would be more, like a lawsuit that is less about, loss of funds. If it was like a cyber attack, and it would be more about, staff time, handling an issue, and I wouldn't think that we would need more than $40,000.
Well, the other thing that I worry about is, think about all of the people whose data we have, and if there's a loss, that's the responsibility of this vendor, then we would be responsible for all of the mitigation, what's required these days. If there's a loss of people's sensitive information, so.
You mean a breach of privacy?
yeah,
Okay, because I was about to say, we have our server, they'll have their backup server, and we'll have the cloud. So in terms of losing the data, I don't think that's possible. I think we
Well,
have a redundancy.
It's less
In terms
us
of
losing it,
breach.
it's more somebody else finding it is the issue.
Yes. Now, I understand especially anyone, whether it's in healthcare or social services, we hold very sensitive data in those situations. We did talk about encryption in the cloud, and I was satisfied with their answers around encryption and digital security.
Will they be holding client data in the cloud?
Yes, there will be client data in the cloud.
Okay.
There is currently client data in the cloud, and it is not as secure as I would want it to be. And part of this move is to move it into a situation that is encrypted and much more confidential. So I consider this to be a big upgrade.
All right, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Yep.
Grace?
And then just quick clarifying, this is $3,250 a month because there's no onboarding, so $39 a year. Okay. And in the motion, you want us to change, because this contract is currently for 1 year, so the one to approve would be for 2 years? Is that
No,
right?
it's, the contract before you, I believe, is 3 years, unless I am mistaken, and it will be a 3-year contract with no uptime. Excuse me, a 2-year contract with no initial setup fee.
I do see under 2.1 term that's for 1 year unless terminated.
Are you looking at professional services agreement?
Yes.
Okay, the professional services agreement is not the,
Oh, okay.
let me see, managed services.
I think it's just getting at what we need to do in the motion to.
Yeah, if you
reflect
could
that.
make in the motion, whether it's 1 or 3, if you could just make the motion that you approve this for a 2-year contract, that would be appreciated.
Which I'm happy to do unless there's other questions. I'd move for,
hold on.
sorry, go ahead.
We got one more. Mary Alice.
Sorry. So I'm wondering, because I don't know, 3,000 sounds like a lot every month, but I know that there's a cost to providing IT. That's just the way it is. So my question is this: you said that there were 8 applicants who applied, and they probably all didn't have exactly the same thing that they were going to do. But what was the range of cost that you were seeing with some of the others?
So I would say for IT services, almost every IT provider has levels of service. So you can have, it's mostly done in-house, and we just come in to do basic maintenance, which is what we have now. There's a second tier, which I would anticipate we may be able to go to in 2 years, which is why I asked for a 2-year contract, which is kind of a mixture of in-house and support. There's a third tier, which is what we are asking for because we have a lot of deferred IT projects. And then there's a fourth tier, which is Cadillac. And I would say that the IT services we looked at are pretty standard across those 4 tiers. The question is more whether we go with a second tier or third tier. The second tier is not sufficient for us at this time because, you know, I came into an office with typewriters and written case notes in files. And so had to very rapid, and like no website, and had to very rapidly scale up. And then we had a pandemic, and then we had a dramatic increase in homeless residents. So as an IT professional, there are many pieces of deferred maintenance for township to be able to work much more efficiently. So I need that third level, but I think I only need it for two years if we stay at the same staffing level or below. If our staff continues to grow, I think it would be reasonable. But I will tell you, one, we have sufficient money in the budget. In fact, we will be under budget on our IT line this year. And two, I think we'll be able to really take on some of the big rocks that have been holding us up. We have a lot of duplicate entry. We do have secure data, but I would like a layer of security and encryption that's greater. I would like us to migrate from Google to Microsoft Word. I'd like an IT software. I'd like to bring in new case management software. I want an accounting workflow that matches specific receipts to specific grants, and we can see by client how much money we've spent, and by grant. All of that is done by hand now. So the amount of labor used to do that will be greatly reduced. And so I will save instead of, so I could either add a third administrator next year, or I could add IT. And so the overall net sum of, like, the net cost is going to be less based on my projections with this investment. But you are correct to say, 25 people supported by $3,200 a month, or something similar it's a significant investment. 31, it'll be actually $31.25 a month.
All right, thank you.
Yes, I would move for approval, resolution number T-2026-02-005R, resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a service agreement with Movidia for IT services and consulting for 2-year amended contract.
Second.
Motion made by Grace, seconded by James. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Wu,
Yes.
Trustee Evans,
Yes.
Trustee Hersey,
Yes.
Trustee Bishop,
Yes.
Trustee Wilkin,
Yes.
Trustee Quisenberry.
Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you, and that passes.
Chair, could I ask, just point of process, because we're at 7:35, the resolution under D is very simple and straightforward, and I wonder if I could ask for it to be moved, or for me to present on the situation, and if the board feels it needs a closed session, we could go into a closed session, and if you don't feel that you need that, we could vote on it.
It's perfect.
Okay, I'm just trying to save some time.
All right. Can the supervisor just go directly into that, Chair?
Yeah, we can just go into the resolution, because we can go into a closed session at any time on an agenda.
Resolution number T 2026-006R, a resolution authorizing the filing a claim in the Court of the Claims regarding the grant reduction of contract FCASH 08558. Supervisor, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is a very simple situation that does require us to file a claim in the courts. Essentially, we have a tax write-in grant from fiscal year '25, which is for supplies and renovations for shelter. It's a $25,000 grant. It's an add-on to our emergency transitional housing grant. We have the same grant in this year currently, right? So it is a place where I understand if folks check a box to support homeless services, when they pay their taxes, it goes into a pool and it's divided amongst the ETH recipients. We applied for it, we got it, we spent it, we submitted the reports on time. They were accurate, we had receipts. Something happened at the level of the state where they did not submit our documentation for reimbursement in a timely fashion. They have apologized for that. It has not happened before with any of our other grants. They have told us verbally that if we go to the Court of Claims, they will not be contesting it, and we will receive our money. So we did try to address it administratively. That's what our attorney had suggested. We work very closely with IDHS. It's been a very easy process. It just is simply that, as they explained, you can't do that past a certain date in the fiscal year. So all we're doing is asking for your support to file a claim with the Court of Claims to receive those dollars due to us. They agree they're due to us. We agree they're due to us. They apologize. It is unusual. We haven't had this problem before. I would like just to move forward with the resolution. Because it is pending litigation, I wanted to give you a closed session, but I really don't see it as, this is all things I feel like I can state. It was a mistake, and they've taken responsibility. We just have this process.
Thank you, Supervisor. Questions, thoughts? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Grace.
I was gonna say, I think that makes sense. I appreciate you clarifying, and it sounds like it won't be back and forth, so we don't expect that this would be a big cost in filing the claim. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would do a motion. Move for approval, resolution number T-2026-006R, a resolution authorizing the filing a claim in the Court of Claims regarding the grant reduction of contract FCASH 08558.
I'll second.
Motion made by Grace, seconded by Mary Alice. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Wu,
Yes.
Trustee Evans,
Yes.
Trustee Hersey,
Yes.
Trustee Bishop,
Yes.
Trustee Wilkin,
Yes.
Trustee Quisenberry.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that passes.
Do we need to vote no for the closed session, or is that just done?
No, we would only vote if we had made a motion to go into closed session, but there was no motion on the floor, so we just ignore it.
All right. With no further business before this body, this meeting is adjourned. We will allow for a 5-minute recess just so that folks can come downstairs, get seated, and all that good stuff.
Thank
Crowds,
you.
you're more than
Have a
welcome
good
to stay
night.
for city council. Thank you all. All right. Okay, all right. All right, good evening, everyone. It is Monday, it is not January, it is February 9th. Jeez Louise. And it is 7:47 PM. Welcome to the Urbana City Council. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Wu.
Here.
Councilmember Evans.
Here.
Councilmember Hersey.
Here.
Councilmember Bishop.
Here.
Councilmember Wilkin.
Here.
Councilmember Quisenberry.
Here.
Mayor Williams.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have quorum. We may move on. Next is the approval of minutes from the previous meeting, which that was January 12th, 2026 City Council meetings. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, moved by Mary Alice, seconded by James. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right,
Aye.
all opposed? All right, the ayes have it. All right, is there any additions or changes to the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, the agenda stands as presented. Next, we will now open the floor for public input. Members of the public, you may please, if you would like to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name, city. You have 5 minutes to speak. All right, you got all those bright smiles and no one wants to come up, huh? All right. Public input is now closed.
Oh, we did have an email.
Oh, yes, we do have an email. Grace, will you please read? Thank you.
Yes, and got the timer, clerk. I think I can do it in 5. Email to City Council reads, Dear members of City Council, thank you for the opportunity to submit public input. I'm writing as a resident, a parent, and a survivor of profound institutional failure. While recent national revelations concerning Jeffrey Epstein and related government knowledge may not appear on the surface to be municipal matters, the culture they expose, a culture that protects abusers, discredits those who reports them, and punishes those who try to protect children, has a very real and very local consequences. I know this because I lived it here. When my young daughter disclosed sexual abuse by her father, I did what parents are told to do. I sought medical care, engaged mandated reporters, and asked for protection. Her pediatrician and local domestic violence agency believed us and documented concerns. Every other system failed. Local law enforcement, family court, and related agencies disbelieved us, minimized the harm, and ultimately punished me for trying to protect my child. When I attempted to relocate to my home country of Canada for safety, I was criminalized. Though that conviction was never reversed, the damage to my daughter, to my livelihood, and to our lives was already done. This is why national accountability locally matters. When powerful offenders are shielded, when institutions prioritize reputation over children, and when accusers are treated as unstable rather than heard as witnesses, those values permeate every level of government. They shape how police respond, they shape how courts decide, they shape who is believed and who is silenced. I'm asking this council to do what is within its power to publicly affirm that child sexual abuse is real, pervasive, and often mishandled by institutions, to call for transparency, accountability, and reform at all levels of government, to ensure that local law enforcement and courts are trauma-informed, evidence-based, and trained to recognize coercive control and child sexual abuse dynamics, to stand with survivors and protective parents rather than pushing them silent has a cost. It is paid by children. Sorry, I think I missed a line. I urge you to use your voices, your platforms, and your authority to demand better from yourselves, from local agencies, and from higher levels of government. Accountability must begin somewhere. It can begin here. Thank you for listening. Respectfully, Sarah Nixon.
Thank you, Grace. All right. Seeing no more, hearing any more, we will now move to council input and communications. Grace.
Thank you. 2 things. One, just after getting and reading that letter, I definitely do want to acknowledge the prevalence of child abuse and the very serious reality of it not being taken seriously and handled well by many levels of society. And think we can do better in Urbana and have some ideas on some potential additional training that we could have to improve how we handle these situations here locally when they do happen. Second point was just putting out there the word that I appreciate the city sharing that the community services grants are open and encourage people to apply. I meant to pull up all the different areas kind of buckets of aid for the community and community things that they're adding. I don't have all those in front of me, but a lot of youth services, and then I believe also in our budget, helping people with insecure immigration status and also people relocating after being influenced by violence and having to experience that. So there's a lot of money out there in the community. Encourage organizations to apply for utilizing those funds. I think it's on the city website. I don't know if I'm stealing someone's thunder. If someone planned to share more details about it, please do. But that's what I got for now. Thank you.
Thank you. I will add, just wanted to say thank you to everyone who applied for the Ward 4 City Council seat. We interviewed 5 amazing applicants last week. As I mentioned last week, originally having 7 total, but 1 didn't actually live in the ward, and then the other didn't live in the ward for at least a year. So that left us with the 5 candidates. All of the applicants will be at the next Committee of the Whole meeting. 4. 1 did drop out. Okay, my apologies. We did have 5 amazing applicants, 4 here at the final stretch, but they will all be here present at the next Committee of the Whole to speak to you all. So looking forward to you all engaging with them, asking questions, and, you know, just having a informative conversation with those folks. So again, looking forward to them being here. Also, I know that Administrator White sent out communications about dates and subject matter for your ward listening sessions as we're, you know, just excited and looking to kick off the year on the right foot. You know, just teaming up with everyone to hear from their constituents. So James, for us in Ward 7, we have ours scheduled and looking to move forward. So let's make that happen, and yeah, just excited. So that's all I have. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. We will now move to reports of standing committees, which there is none, so we will move on. We now have, let me see here. We'll now move to Committee of the Whole. Councilmember Wilkins, the floor is yours.
Thank you. On behalf of Committee of the Whole, I present for moving for approval consent agenda resolution number 2026-02-006R, resolution certifying a community housing development organization for the Urbana Home Consortium, Habitat for Humanity, project year 2026. Also, resolution number 2026-02-007R, resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Housing Development Organization funding agreement, Habitat for Humanity, project year 2026. And lastly, ordinance number 2026-02-003, an ordinance amending the Urbana zoning map, rezone 904 East Main Street from R3 to B3, plan case number 2517-M-25.
Second.
All right, motion made by Grace, seconded by James. Is there any discussion? I'm sorry, all those in favor, say aye.
Roll call,
Aye.
sorry. It's gotta be roll call, I'm sorry.
For,
For adoption of the consent agenda, because it's a final action.
okay, all right,
Sorry.
my apologies. No, you're fine. All right, clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Wu,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Hersey,
Yes.
Councilmember Bishop, Councilmember Bishop, Councilmember Wilkin,
Yes.
Councilmember Quisenberry.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, and that passes. All right, floor is yours. Regular agenda.
Next on the regular agenda, we have ordinance number 2026-02-004, an ordinance revising the annual budget ordinance, budget amendment number 7, TIF foreclosure.
Second.
All right, motion made by Grace, seconded by James. All right. At this time, is there any discussion? No discussion. All right, clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Wu,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Hersey,
Yes.
Councilmember Bishop,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilkin,
Yes.
Councilmember Quisenberry,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes,
Thank you.
and that passes.
Next, regular agenda, ordinance number 2026-02-005, an ordinance revising the annual budget ordinance, budget amendment number 8, fire engine purchase.
All right. Motion made by Grace.
Second.
Seconded by James. All right. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Wu,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Hersey,
Yes.
Councilmember Councilmember Bishop,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilkin,
Yes.
Councilmember Quisenberry,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That too passes. All right, we'll now hear reports, special committee, which there aren't any, so we will move on now to reports of officers. We'll be hearing from different departments around the surveillance ordinance. So Administrator White, the floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, everyone. So for today, to provide some update on some of the surveillance tools / databases that were requested from council members for additional information. We're going to be doing 3 departments today: Fire Department, Public Works, and then Community Development. I'll be continuing on with Placer AI. So for the Fire Department, for their list, they did have drones listed. So I will pass it on to a representative from the Fire Department to provide some information.
Good evening. Thank you for having us this evening to hear about this. Again, one of our items listed on the list of technology was for the use of drones. This is one of the goals that the Urbana Fire Department has had. I feel that this is actually in line with, or could potentially be in line with, the council goals of enhancing and expanding our public safety resources. We feel that this is a tool that can be very useful to us. Currently, the Urbana Fire Department does not have an operational drone. To our knowledge, we have not deployed a drone in the city of Urbana for fire department incidents. This is something that we're really looking forward as a goal towards the future as a resource. This isn't just a tool or a piece of technology just to have technology, but it's more so a tool that we can use to provide safer, smarter decision-making by getting early access and different points of vantage for various incidents. This doesn't limit us to just fires. When we talk about this, specifically speaking to fire, this can give us opportunities for a size up from all different vantage points, and it can help us with tactical decision making. But expanding off of that, we are also a technical rescue team, and this can provide significant enhancements to us for different technical rescue operations. Recently, this last June, we had talked about an incident, for example, just at Florida Avenue Residence Hall, where we had a rescue from a 9.5-story exterior of the building. This would have been an incredible tool to have to make early patient contact and help us with early decision-making before we put people in hazardous situations. Other examples would be things such as hazardous materials incidents, where we could actually use this technology in place of placing people in hazardous areas and make decision-making a little bit safer. This could also allow us to do a little bit of research before we put people in hazardous situations. That's just a general overview of what we have. This comes in many different varieties that we could see. We could see this as a simple manually operated drone all the way to public safety drone programs. And that would just be where we decide that we could take it depending on what resources we have available to us. And I believe that is all that I have. If you have any questions.
All right. James.
I do have a question, but I'm speaking to my microphone, so I'm not going to be looking over my shoulder the whole time. So it sounds to me, and just correct me if I'm wrong, that the purpose of the fire department having a drone would be in circumstances of real-time observation to make better decisions about how to deal with a particular event. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. That would be the primary reason. There would be some secondary things that we could use that aren't real time, such as using those for training. So that's a way for us to enhance our operations at a later time by seeing what we've done on previous events as well.
So, yeah, if you had a particular event and the information from video that was recorded during the drone being used to help train other firefighters in the future, you would reuse that. But it doesn't sound like there would be any circumstances where you would be using the drone, just having it out there to see what's out there. It would be specifically an event that you were responding to, and then subsequently using any video that was there for training purposes to help firefighters get better.
That's correct.
And I guess as there, you don't see a situation in that kind of use of a drone. There's not a situation where it would need to be connected live to some kind of streaming service that would make that video available outside of what the operator was using to operate it and record what was happening.
Not that, I don't believe so, no. That would be more so just direct line so we can see exactly what's going on at the moment.
So others wouldn't have access to the video, or it couldn't be done, co-opted for other uses other than directly what you were trying to accomplish.
I believe that's correct, yes.
All right, thank you.
Chris?
But you would have the capability to record, and you did mention you might use that footage for later training, correct? I mean, internal training.
Correct, internal training. So I'm glad you actually brought that up, because that's something that we would do in situations where we could do things better as well. So that's something that we want to kind of keep internal at certain times, but we also want to continue to improve. That's an excellent way of doing it, by actually showing some things, either good or bad, that we can always improve on.
Grace?
I appreciate the presentation here, and want to just remind us that things being covered under this ordinance doesn't mean that we don't use them. It just means there's a policy for using them. So I was wondering if you had anything that you saw of an issue of just having that in a written policy and thinking about drafting a potential use policy for when the department uses drones.
I think that would be a great step for us. Like I said before, we don't have that technology currently. It's more so a future goal, but I do think a policy would have to be in line with the usage of that type of technology, whether that's starting a program or how that looks. I think it's really going to depend on what type of technology and where that resource comes from to be able to do that.
That sounds like you're saying that you don't see an operational issue with having a policy in place for drone usage.
I do not. I think that would be important.
Thank you. And you mentioned something about public safety drone program, I think. That was about all I caught. I didn't understand what that was. If you could give us a little more info.
So what I was saying is that there's a couple different ways that departments in the fire service are expanding the usage of drones, whether that's just a manual operator that's doing it for the department, or expanding to a public safety drone program, which those are going to be more in line of basically being able to launch a drone immediately and getting a drone on scene immediately before fire apparatus can even get there, and helping them make decisions while they're still responding to an incident. Those are more extensive programs. So there's a wide variety, and this is still a program that's growing within the fire service itself, the usage of drones altogether. So I can provide more information on that, but that's just a general overview of what I meant by that.
Thank you.
Chris?
Last question. Do you know if any neighboring departments have drones yet?
I do not know of any neighboring departments currently, at least fire departments. That's what we were starting to research. Well, I do know and have contact with some departments from other states, but we haven't really expanded close to here.
All right. Thank you. Ladies in the sky, is there anyone that may have question?
This is Sharice.
Hey, Sharice.
I suppose the one question that I would have regarding, well, maybe not question, but comment, I suppose, that I would have regarding public safety is that are you Chief Doggett, are you saying that, for example, a drone being used, let's say that there's a fire on the 5th floor someplace and you don't know exactly what it's going to spread to. Would that be an example of being able to use a drone for a public safety purpose?
That would be a very
Or
good,
how many people might be in the area?
that would be a very good example of how to use that. High areas where it's difficult to see. Another example that I could provide as well is Campus Circle Apartments, which is right against the tracks where we can't get apparatus in between the building and the tracks. That's another situation where we can actually get an angle or a vantage point using a drone to see exactly what's going on. And we're getting that there quicker than we can get our personnel there. So we can, again, make quick decisions based off of what we see and deploy people to the right spot the first time.
Okay, and rather than trying to guess and you know, figure it out after while you're there on the site, you at least get a first look, as I imagine.
Yes, that's correct.
That would be helpful. Okay. But right now we don't have we don't have any drones at all, is what you're saying too.
That's correct. We do not have any right now.
So but it is a goal that you hope to have sometime soon, I imagine.
Yeah, this would be one of our future goals to look into to see what would be best for us and how we can most efficiently implement it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Chandra, did you have anything?
No, I didn't. Thank you.
All right. Administrator White, the floor is yours.
We will now move to Public Works to cover drones and MyoVision. I'll pass it to our Public Works representative.
Good evening. I'm just speaking to the use of drones in Public Works. We currently do not own or operate drones. There have been a handful of instances where we've reached out to the Mass Transit District, who've been able to provide assistance with in 2 applications. One would be grant applications, doing pre and post site observations, as well as assisting in providing that information when we do the applications. The Florida Avenue Raise Grant was an example of that, and then we also utilized it for the fire station projects, advance of those. There have been a few examples where we've relied upon them also, as well as outside agencies for promotional reasons, trying to promote the art at Lincoln Square that was painted there by the farmers market lot. And then recently, when we completed construction on the storage facility there on Glover Street, we worked with the company to do a promotional video for completion of that project. But that's about the extent of Public Works use of drones. Speaking for MyoVision, that's a Canadian company. They provide hardware and software solutions for primarily collecting traffic data and pedestrian data. We currently have one of their camera systems, an older generation version of that that we are able to deploy in specific locations. We've been using that for the purposes of pedestrian counts in doing analysis of where we may or may not install pedestrian crosswalks. And this is one of the many criteria that we use in our guidelines for finding the placement of those areas. We'll use those situationally. We'll install it to a streetlight in the area. We'll typically collect about 12 hours of data at a time that meets the criteria of whether school's in session or if there's events or whatever the impacts are that would help guide that decision. Then we take that data from a server, we'll upload it from ours to their cloud network, and then they'll run the analytics on that for us and provide back, usually in an Excel form, the pedestrian counts and the information that we're asking for. The equipment and the software does have additional sophistication. We haven't currently used, but we could in the future. It can identify pedestrians, it can identify cyclists, it can also distinguish between vehicle class, that's the small automobiles or larger vehicles. So it can be employed to determine traffic patterns, traffic signal timing, pedestrian crossings. So at request, if we were to upgrade that technology that we have and request that service, MyoVision would be able to provide us that analysis and return that back to us so we can make judgment decisions on intersection timings and pedestrian crosswalks and where we want to evaluate that sort of data. I'll take any questions.
I think James and then Chris.
Thank you. Again, I'm going to
Yeah, that's
speak in
fine.
the microphone. So when you talk about identifying pedestrians and cyclists, can you clarify, can it identify a pedestrian as in that's James Quisenberry walking across the street, or that thing moving across the street is a pedestrian?
No, they obscure any data or the facial recognition, license plate. They purposely try to avoid collecting that data as part of their industry practice.
Do we know if they say they obscure it, but that doesn't necessarily mean they don't have it? Do they offer other details that aren't maybe personal identification? Do they offer like demographic information or other details about, in aggregate, who the pedestrians are, who the cyclists are that are crossing its view?
I understand that there's AI technology that has that capability, but I don't believe that's part of their core function. No, getting that demographic or that identity, looking at their kind of information that they have on their website and their company base, they do try to obscure that so that it's not included in part of their analysis.
I guess, I mean, this would be a circumstance where I would want a pretty strict review of the contract and how things are held. So this would be something that I think we'd want to look at closer.
Yeah, I can definitely find the user agreements and the contract language and provide that to everybody. You're welcome.
Chris.
Yeah, James asked my question, but I was just curious, and this might be above your pay grade, Vince. I know it's above mine. But what are we counting? Are we counting cell phone apps again?
No, this is like a just like think of a camera. Historically, we would place a camera at a location, and I can remember back in the days, the engineers would take the VHS tapes from the camera, and they would sit in the conference room with a piece of paper and a clicker, and would click and count the number of times a pedestrian or how many people would come, the volume, the time of day. What this does is the technology removes that work component of it, and it can identify an individual crossing the street, and it does that counting and tallies that information. It can distinguish between bicycles, in different types of cars and cars versus trucks. So it's just a more sophisticated technology.
So it's like a camera, but it's stationary at a particular place,
Correct.
and it's somehow reading without identifying what's going by it, right?
Their software can take the film footage.
Oh, it's film.
Yeah, yeah. So we take an actual recording of a specific location when we identify the area that we need to do the analysis on. It'll take video of that location. We send that video to the company, and they use their software to analyze that. So instead of having a human actually do the observations and counting, the technology can determine if that's a person crossing, how many people, how many times a day, and it just takes that kind of actual human element out of performing that physical count.
So it's an automated review of video footage,
More or less, yes.
more or less. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Grace?
Thank you. Thanks for the information here. What about, we have on this thing street lights with GPS data from cell phones, vehicles, and other sources of traffic movements. Can you explain that?
I'm not familiar with that exactly, no.
Okay, Hansen Consultant?
Oh, so there are so consulting companies, engineering firms are able to reach out and get open data and information on things like Google, and when anybody who drives a phone and has location services on, as you're moving through, there are firms and engineers that have traffic data from that. The source of that data is through an app that's tracking your location through just your typical phone or your car data. That's not something we collect or provide, but it is available for consultants to use.
Does that have anything to do with streetlights? Like, it's not on our light bulbs? Because that's something that's come across that blows my mind, that they're talking about, like, facial recognition enabled
No,
light bulbs. Like, that's not what we're talking about.
No, none
Okay.
of that's incorporated in our street light technology, no.
Okay, thank you. And then also and I'm just looking at this
Okay.
list that we were given under Public Works section is
Sure.
what I'm going off of. If I'm saying things that are wild, I'm getting them from here.
No, you're fine.
There's also listed City of Urbana asset tracking technology. The description is just GPS tracking, vehicles, phones, tablets, et cetera.
Oh, that's, we've deployed iPads in the field for our employees as part of our work order tracking and asset management program. So all of our, whether it's a tree, it's a manhole or a storm inlet, they're location by GIS based. And then when we receive requests, those are the requests are tied to a specific address. And the only reason we included that was just for clear transparency, that on those devices, they do have location finders on that. A good example of that is if there's a storm situation where we get 20 to 30 limbs down and we put that into our system, the technology that our new system has is we can put those requests in. The front office or the supervisor can prioritize those, assign those out to a crew, and then it integrates with Google Maps so that you can essentially select it, take from one task to the next, and it'll just automatically show you the quickest route from one task to the next task. So, and then if we were ever to lose one or misplace one, we'd be able to find it with that.
Thank you. But it's only for city assets used by city employees, right?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So I think
Yes.
as written, probably wouldn't be covered with the ordinance as proposed on the table at the moment. And then final question is, do you have any operational issues or challenges from Public Works for having a policy in place for potentially drones or other traffic data and use?
No, absolutely not.
Thank you.
Mary Alice?
Yeah, Vince, thanks for the information. I just want to expand a little bit on what James was talking about. So it sounds to me like there is a camera that is used to gather data on the streets for a very short period of time. Is that correct?
Correct. Talking with our engineering team this morning, typically, once we identify a location in an appropriate time, we'll usually collect about 12 hours at a time of video footage of a representative sample of when we think the patterns and traffic would be representative of when we're trying to collect, yes.
And then that video is uploaded into the cloud and sent to this company, and then they get the raw video and make the counts based on their software. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
So I guess, to me, one of the big questions here is their data destruction policy.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, I think once they do the counts, they probably hold the actual video for a certain length of time. But then I'm assuming, and I want to know, like, what is their amount of time that they hold it? Is it 30 days? Is it 90? And then how do they destroy the data?
I can definitely find that out.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there any other? James, sorry. Sharice, Chandra, did either of you have anything?
I don't.
No.
All right, James.
So I just want to clarify one thing, because I want to make sure that the camera that's used in that tool is our camera. If we record the footage and we just submit that digitally to the company?
We own one of their cameras. It's supplied by MioVision, so
Oh,
we
it is their camera.
so yeah, and we bought one of their products that works with their system, but that is in our possession that we can deploy when necessary.
And do you know if their camera is the delivery of the video to the vendor automatic, or do we have to take a step to say we want to send this to you for review?
We have to upload it to their cloud server.
Okay, so we
It's a
operate the
manual
device,
process. Yes,
save it, and then send it to them.
that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Administrator White.
Okay, the last item for this evening would be Placer AI. So I took the questions that were given to me from that presentation and touched base with our Placer rep to receive some responses for those questions. As I go through them, once I'm completed, if you have any additional questions that you would like for me to take back to our Placer rep, I'll be happy to do so. Question number 1. Is GPS location tracking identified by the device itself or by cellular tower data? Answer, Placer AI observes the actual devices. Location data is derived from device-level signals rather than from cellular tower. Question 2, who are Placer AI's data partners that provide identifier scrubbing? Answer, the data is sourced from mobile applications that require an affirmative opt-in from users, including disclosure of how data is shared with third parties. All partners comply with regulations such as General Data Protection Regulation and California Consumer Privacy Act. Placer AI does not disclose the names of its individual data partners. Question 3, what type of apps are users opting into that Placer AI relies on for data collection? Answer, specific app types are not disclosed. Question 4, are any of those apps medical or health related? Answer, no. As it pertains to sensitive locations, including military facilities, schools that are pre-K through 12th grade, places of worship, rehabilitation centers, and women's health facilities, no data is ever collected. Question 5, where does Placer AI raw data reside prior to the secure scrubbing process, and who owns it at that stage? Device data is, device data is stripped of personal identifiers such as mobile advertising IDs by Placer AI's data partners before it is shared with Placer AI. They do not identify their data partners. After Placer AI receives the data, it groups the information around specific places such as a business, a neighborhood, or a park. This is done using k-anonymity of the 50, which means that the data is only looked at when it comes from at least 50 different devices. So no singular person can be identified and individual privacy is protected. Placer AI then uses its own proprietary technology to study this grouped data and make general predictions. Question 6, how is the demographic data collected for consumer and business audience profiles? Answer, the data collection method is utilizing the primary sources. 1, first-party mobile data used to analyze visitation patterns, trade areas, and audience behaviors. Number 2, trusted third-party data sets. Multiple sources are used to provide comprehensive demographic insights. These key data sources are 1, U.S. Census data, utilizing population, household, and demographic statistics. Number 2, STI PopStats, using demographic data compiled from public sources. And then lastly, they utilize their commercial data partners. Number 1, Experian Mosaic, consumer lifestyle segmentation for detailed audience profiling. Number 2, Spatial AI Personnel Live, which combines social media activities and store visitation data to create household segments. And lastly, STI Market Outlook, which utilizes the spending patterns and market trends. For geographic level, data is analyzed at the census block group level and aggregated for market insights. At this time, I'll be happy to take any additional questions that you would like me to go back to our Placer AI rep with.
James?
Yeah, I think in your second answer, there was a reference to what I would call GDPR,
Yes, sir.
which, just for everybody's knowledge, is the standard that the European nations use to protect people's data. It's much better than anything we have in the United States because we don't typically protect people's data in the U.S., but it's, if you're in the world of managing privacy, you're very familiar with it. And it's a standard that we have to work towards, and if you're working in technology and you're trying to be serious about people's privacy, it's a standard that we utilize.
Thank you, James. Mary Ellis?
Yeah, I just want to be clear because I didn't catch that you were talking about GDPR. So one of the things in GDPR is that you have the right to be forgotten, right? So if you're in an EU country or an EEAU country, somebody can actually, and this is geographically bound, somebody can contact that company and say, erase all my data from time A to time B because I'm in this location. Does Placer AI allow that if for U.S., for people who are here in the U.S., or is it only to cover GDPR people? That's what I missed. Oh, James has got an answer for me.
Yeah, James may be the source of this answer, but outside of what he provides, I'm happy to take that back to Placer to get more information.
So on the basis of the several answers that we got there, the piece of information that makes GDPR in that sense that you mentioned irrelevant is because Placer AI is claiming that they are receiving the data with individual identifying components already scrubbed.
Oh, I see.
And so you could say, Placer AI, remove my data, and they'd say, okay,
can't.
which data is yours? We don't know.
Yeah.
That's what they're claiming. They receive the data already scrubbed from one of these three partners, Experian, Spatial, and STI. Experian, everybody should recognize if you've had to deal with a credit reporting agency because it's one of those groups.
I had a follow-up question. So did I hear you correctly that they will not release what apps they're getting data from?
Correct.
But it is specifically an opt-in?
Yes, so it says that their mobile applications require an affirmative opt-in from users, including disclosure of how data is shared with third parties.
So that's terms of service, which I would say 1% of the population actually reads.
All right, Grace.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm still skeptical on that. And then also if it's required, so that there might be a full long thing that people don't read. I'm one of those people who does read it, but also how can you avoid it? Like a lot of times you have to accept those terms to use the app. So if you don't ever want to use a Google map or ever have any location application, it seems to be the only option to not be tracked. So I'm still not really on board with it being an actual opt-in type of thing, because I've never seen it where you could voluntarily opt out and still continue to use a thing after you say, no, I don't want you to share my information. So I'd like to see that kind of prove it, and how is it able for a person to possibly avoid being tracked besides just not having any apps. And then also, if that is the case, one of the questions that I believe was asked but not answered in this round, which I don't know if it's really for Placer AI or what their answer may be versus if you ask someone else, but of how accurate this is. So if people can readily opt out, and people do, then how accurate is it? Kind of like that example at the farmer's market. If there was 1,000 people there, some people don't have smartphones, some people opt out of the app successfully. How accurate do we think this is? I don't have the printout that you gave us last time at Placer AI. I left it right on my table at home. But I recall the example you gave us for McDonald's. It said some of the highest places where people went before and after McDonald's was McDonald's. So like, I don't know if that is the thing, but like it said in the top 5 places where people went before and after McDonald's on Philo was the McDonald's on Cunningham. Maybe that is the case, and people just McDonald's hop between Cunningham and Philo McDonald's back and forth, and that's the top 5 places. But it doesn't seem realistic to me, so I question how accurate this is based on the percentage of people that it captures in its data in the first place, and how accurate it is if someone's just driving down Philo or they drive past the McDonald's. Is it just picking everyone up? So I'm curious about the accuracy of it, and I will take Placer AI's response themselves with a grain of salt in a sense, but I don't know if there's any way to get close to an accurate estimate on how accurate this is and how much it's encompassing what people are actually doing.
Mary Alice.
Yeah, so it's interesting because of GDPR, if you go to a website, you actually can select what you agree to share. I know in location services, you can disable location services in an app, but more specifically, one that people don't disable because you can't use the app is Google Maps, which is what you just said. And so if they won't tell us the apps that they're using, will they tell us if people are using Google Apps? Because I guarantee you, vast majority of people are using location services on that.
James.
Yeah, I can't speak to Android, and I don't trust it. I can speak to the Apple environment, and if you read about privacy, some people hold Apple to a higher standard of privacy protection than other vendors, but again, take that with a grain of salt. But if you're in the Apple environment, it will ask you, do you want to allow the app to track you? And you can say no and opt out. It will also ask you, if you have location services turned on, it will ask you if the app can use your location while you're using the app, or all the time, or not at all. And those are the kinds of opt-outs that they're talking about. Now, if you trust your phone vendor and those tools, then that's up to you to trust them. I have some confidence that Apple does respect your choices with regard to that. I don't know that Google and Android have the same kind of details, and they also have an app environment where you're not really sure how the Android apps conform to those requirements the same degree that Apple does. But there are options to opt out, and that is what they're talking about. Now, whether you trust the app makers to respect that, whether you trust your phone vendor to respect that, or or Verizon or T-Mobile or whoever is like carrying your data around and can see it anyway, that's an individual decision.
Thank you. Sharice, Chandra, anything?
No, I don't. Right now, I don't have any major questions. I do have a comment regarding this particular piece of equipment, because I've talked to different people that they use it, and my understanding, and then people, regarding at the city and different departments, because my understanding is that this is almost invaluable piece of software, so that we can actually determine and figure out what our economic development is, where it could fall next, how we can help Urbana to grow. Also, like, what kind of, when we do social media, who shows up for different stuff. I know we all see stuff on Facebook, if we're on Facebook, about this event or that event or this particular city thing that's happening, and how it's helpful to try to find out what demographic is actually seeing this stuff from time to time. So there's my understanding is that this is it's really helpful in helping the city to grow. Also regarding, like, the fact that we're trying to put a grocery store in Ward 3 right now. It may be helpful to know, or people in my neighborhood going to actually try, go to this place, and how will they get there? I got a email, with the question from the architect, and I have yet to be able to answer, but how will people from my neighborhood plan to transport themselves from where they live to the grocery store? Is there going to be a walking path or something like that regarding that kind of thing? And I think that this kind of software would probably be helpful in making that determination, because it would help to kind of predict whether or not this place will be viable in the location, if Angela uses the location that we offered to help her with. So that's the kind of information I've gotten regarding this software. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Sharice.
I think it would just be helpful. Yeah.
Chandra.
No, nothing from me. Thank you.
All right. What you got, Grace?
One more question, then a comment, if I may. My question that I've been asking the other departments is if you see any issue with having a policy on Placer AI usage. And I realize, Darius, you're not the head of community development, kind of presenting for that department, so I don't know if you feel at liberty to give your initial thoughts, or we can have Olivia speak on that, or whoever else you think.
Yes, I'll allow Olivia to speak on that at her next time attending a council meeting.
Okay, thank you. And then my comment was just thank you to the department sharing on this technology tonight. I think that was really helpful information. And just reminding us all that the spirit of this ordinance is for having transparency and policies for these surveillance technologies, not banning them, but just having clear transparency. And remembering that technology and its uses can change very quickly. Things with Flock have changed a lot in the first few years since they were proposed in Urbana. Can't confirm, but I've seen a lot about Ring Doorbell and Flock and ICE all working together. And so I think that things that even seem benign technology, we need to consider the possibilities of how they can be used in futures that we might not even be expecting at the moment.
Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, just a comment. I think tonight was a great example of how the ordinance would work, that we would discuss technologies and we would discuss policies and concerns and what the regulations are and what the limits are and what the uses are. A lot of people in town, actually, literally, I was having this discussion yesterday about drones, and people might be very skeptical and scared of the fire department having drones. But after tonight's discussion, we learned there are some very legitimate uses for drones, the fire department having a drone. And it's not a see who, spy into buildings to see who's not in compliance with code or anything. It's to legitimately on-site during a live action event, get information needed before we send people into dangerous spaces. So I would think, and so having gone through this exercise, I think proves that we're on the right track with this surveillance tech ordinance, that this would be a good tool for the city and the community to talk about these technologies so that not only we can address concerns and trust that we're using them in a responsible way.
All right. Thank you all. Administrator White, thank you, sir. All right, we will now move on to mayoral appointments. Go ahead. He's already making his way up. All right. First, we have a staff appointment, Public Works Director. I am recommending Vince Gustafson for a term ending on or before June 30th, 2027. Vince Gustafson has served the city since June 2004. He began his career as a building maintenance worker and was promoted to the public facilities supervisor in 2012, public facilities manager in 2016, and deputy public works director for operations in 2019. Since June 2025, he has served as interim public works director. Mr. Gustafson, did you have anything you'd like to share here today? Tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Williams. Gotcha. Yeah, thank you. I just want to start off and say thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. I can safely say that this wasn't my goal or ambition when I was hired here in 2004. I'd just like to take every opportunity I can to, play whatever role I can to share and better the service that we provide in the Public Works Department. I'm committed to providing efficient service and equitable for all of our residents, making sure that we're accessible. We're taking the time to listen to the entire community and work as a group. Few key values that I thrive on here and again have led me here to this group and this place right now is communication and collaboration. That's huge for me. Internally within our department, I've strived very hard to break down silos between our divisions in Public Works, even working with our operations folks and our engineering staff and making sure we're meeting frequently and communicating and looking at that long-range vision versus that, kind of boots on the ground, windshield view, bringing those teams together and getting everybody's input. Working collaborative and communicating well within the organization. I've seen what happens when the city can break off into silos and we're not working as a group or a team together. I feel very strong and confident in the relationships that I've built with my friends here in the fire department and the police department and community development and executive and HR Finance. I feel we're on a good footing with the new administration, Administrator White and the mayor coming in. We've had great communications on the path we're moving forward, and I'm committed to working with this team and moving forward and continue to collaborations with you as a council in the goals, and whether that's the comprehensive plan discussions like we have tonight. I think that I've seen great improvements in that collaboration and that communication between all of us. I'm glad to help out there, as well as communication and collaboration with the larger community. We have partners with the city of Champaign and Savoy and Champaign County, all of our local agencies that we collaborate with, whether that's Regional Planning Commission and CUWATS and our sanitary sewer technical committees, that's the sanitary district, the water company. We all need to be working together, communicating well, and understanding how we need to work together as a community to get the best and most positive outcomes. I think one of the key things for me, my takeaway, is just this culture and positive, productive workplace environment, so that we can bring the best employees and keep the best employees. I feel really good about the team we have right now, but I want to keep working in that direction. A place where everybody's work is valued and understood, and they can be honest and open, and we can talk amongst each others. And it's a place where this is you come to work a career, not just a job. I've prided myself in the past 5 or 6 years working collaboratively with our union, AFSCME, and those employees on building a positive working relationship with that group, helping develop career ladders and opportunities with those working staffs. That's level 2s for electricians and arbor technicians and equipment operators, making sure that they have advancement opportunities within our organization here, creating crew leader positions within AFSCME so that our employees get the opportunity to gain experience, so that when positions become available, there's opportunities for advancement right here. We want to keep people here. We want to keep that institutional knowledge here, the folks who really want to contribute and understand that. Take a lot of pride in what I've done with working that, and I look forward to expanding that through the rest of the department and the rest of the city, and being a partner with the team. I had a conversation, I know, in Mayor Williams, one of the first times that he came out to Public Works to talk about his goals and values. He spoke about, bringing excitement back to Urbana, and said we need to make Urbana cool again. And that rung true with my my working group, and I was talking to them, and I was talking to Dave, who's one of our equipment operators. He's been to the city longer than I have, and he's the AFSCME president. And he said, that's great. He heard it. He loved it. But he said, first, we need to make it cool to work for Urbana again. And that stuck with me, really, really close to my heart, having spent, 22, going on 23 years here. We need to focus on that first and understand that without the people in place to do the work and support the efforts, then they're just ideas and discussions. So right out of the gate, that's my initial priority, is to work with everybody, continue to work for positive outcomes for our employees and for the community. So I do appreciate this offer.
Awesome. Vince, I do want to say, I appreciate you, again, stepping up. Wasn't an easy task, which I completely understand, but I've appreciated your approach, your openness to change, your willingness to stretch yourself beyond maybe even what you were comfortable with. You've done everything that I've asked, in this window of time, and I appreciate, the work in which you've put forth. I appreciate your willingness and attempt to, to bridge some of those gaps. So, just kudos to you. I want you to understand and step into your purpose and knowing that you deserve this opportunity. So congratulations again, just even getting to this space. So I want to say thank you. And at this time, I will entertain a motion.
I'd like to move for the appointment of Vince Vince Gustafson for the interim for the director of public works, and term ending be on or before June 30th, 2027.
Second.
Motion made by Sharice, second by James. Is there discussion? Mary Alice?
Yeah, and I feel bad putting you on the spot, but I did have one question. Well, my dad's name is Vincent, so I don't call him Vince, but, so one of my questions is, how,
I would actually recommend for consistency purposes that questions are directed to the mayor or administration, because with the last mayoral staff appointment, I do not recall that the applicant answered questions, that it was like questions are through the department putting forward
Okay,
the
that's
application.
Did not.
Yeah.
Correct.
that's no problem.
All right. Motion made by Sharice, seconded by James. At this time, seeing no additional, clerk, will you please call okay. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Wu,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Hersey,
Yes.
Councilmember Bishop,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilkin,
Present.
Councilmember Quisenberry.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, that passes. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. Good job. I found mine. All right. Thank you, though. At this time, we will now move to boards and commissions appointment. First, for the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, Nicholas Anand, with the term ending June 30th, 2028. Nicholas says, I would love to have the opportunity to serve as a member of BPAC and use this role to help improve safety for the most vulnerable road users and ensure that the voices of all residents are heard. In addition to advocacy work, my technical skills allow me to approach these problems from a unique perspective, use a data-driven approach to evaluate proposals and view the movement of people as a series of interconnected systems. I am committed to making Urbana a better and more accessible place for everyone. I will entertain a motion.
Well, I would be happy to make a motion for a young person to come join some of our commissions. I will move approval for Nicholas Anand to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, term ending on June 30th, 2028.
All right. Motion
Second.
made. Motion made by Mary Alice, seconded by James. Any discussion? Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Wu,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Hersey,
Yes.
Councilmember Bishop,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilkin,
Yes.
Councilmember Quisenberry.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, and that passes. Congratulations, Nicholas. I am so sorry. Look forward to working alongside you. Next is for Plan Commission, Clayton Matlock, with the term ending June 30th, 2028. Clayton says, I value the role historic resources play in shaping community identity, neighborhood character, and long-term sustainability. My professional background in facilities planning, design review, and historic building stewardship, combined with my academic pursuit of urban planning, aligns well with the Commission's advisory responsibilities. I am committed to serve thoughtfully and collaboratively, and I am willing to dedicate the time and care necessary to support preservation decisions that reflect the best interests of the city of Urbana and its residents. I will now entertain a motion.
We'll make a second motion. I'll move approval of Clayton Matlock for the Plan Commission, term ending June 30th, 2028.
Second.
Motion made by Mary Alice,
Second.
seconded by, let's give that one to Chandra since she's been,
Yeah, there you go.
second by Chandra, thank you. All right, any additional discussion? Seeing none, clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Wu,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Hersey,
Yes.
Councilmember Bishop,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilkin,
Yes.
Councilmember Quisenberry.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that passes. Congratulations, Clayton. Looking forward to working alongside you as well. All right, we will move on to the next item, which it is adjournment. With no further business before this body, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Good night and good luck.
Good night. Y'all be safe. Yeah, thank you.